The Reverend Father Peter Ken Jonge joins us in studio. We want to honor the legacy of the Holy Father, that is Pope Francis, who died early this morning. The latest, of course, is that he's been put in his coffin because there was supposed to be a sense of confirmation led by the Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Kamalonge of the Holy Roman Church. That means then the body has already been stored in the coffin, and the public viewing will be a little bit different, and the Reverend Father will be telling us why. But thank you very much for joining us tonight. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Being a Catholic priest, let's begin from how you remember Pope Francis.
Yes. Thank you very much, and I welcome you all as I join my fellow Catholics also for the for mourning, and we say that it is God's time.
Yes.
And of course we say, may he rest in eternal peace. It was God's time, and we thank the Lord for the years that he has been our Holy Father, or the Roman Pontiff. But on the other side, I'll always remember him because he is the first Pope to pick the name Francis, Franciscus. Franciscus.
Okay.
The first Pope in history. If you look at me well, I have the Franciscan tau. This is called Franciscan tau. And
that's the rosary you have on?
No.
This is not a rosary.
This is Franciscan tau. That's
what does
the
that
name. It is, it's not a cross as such, it's a tau for the Franciscans missionaries.
Okay.
And the legacy of St. Francis of Assisi is humility. And I thought, or in my own thinking, he took the word Francis. Remember, Pope Francis, anytime you elected a pope, you choose a name. Like we had Benedict the 16th. This one took over in 2013. He took the word Francis. Now, for me, I remember him because of three things. This man was a beacon of compassion, humility, and spiritual courage. He was humble. This man was spiritual, and he brought a lot of changes during this time in history, where we have technology, new technology, and all that. So the three things are fine. And
it is important you mentioned about compassion, because throughout his tenure as the Pope, we've seen his pro-poor approach to issues, and being very compassionate about the people who are downtrodden, sometimes even affected by war, sometimes affected by poverty. And that goes into the annals of history as one of the pro-poor popes we have had in the Catholic legacy.
Exactly, because for him, he was working for the poor and those that people think they cannot be reached. Even by the fact that he chose himself, to visit Kenya, Africa, in 2015. That one by itself was a sign of humility. And indeed, there is a picture going around of him, with the three presidents, the second and third and fourth president. Because that time, His Excellency, the President Uhuru Kenyatta was the president of Kenya. And, that picture, people were saying President Moi was so lucky to have met some other popes. But even him choosing Kenya as the first country to visit in Africa is itself a sign of humility.
And even as you talk about Kenya, because in Kenya it was more of a pastoral visit, and in fact it was his first in the African continent after his election. But then his visit to South Sudan was so significant. When he's accompanied by the Archbishop of Canterbury and the moderator of the Scotland, or rather the head of the Scotland Church, to the peace process in South Sudan. You would say Africa really has been lucky to experience this man, Pope Francis.
Nobody wants to go where the fights are. But he could not, relent. Every time he saw the opportunity, he went. He even went down and kissed the feet of this president, and you know how but it is for somebody to remove the shoe, and you kiss the feet. When he goes down like that, in Southern Sudan, here in Kenya, he visited even the slums here. He went to Kagemi, by itself, he was a humble Pope. Yeah.
Does it concern you, for example, as a Catholic priest, and of course all the Catholic faithful, that the Pope dies at a time when South Sudan in itself is experiencing yet another period of turmoil, even after the Pope has done all that effort to bring back stability to the nation?
Even that. You can see Congo and also our African countries here. But every time he was urging the leaders, to be humble enough, not to make people cry, to make everybody equal, and to share what you have with the less fortunate. Yes.
Also part of his legacy, and probably you tell me more, being a Catholic priest, the modernization of the Catholic doctrine from more leaning more towards conservatism to a modern church that responds to the problems of the world. Do you think he's been able to achieve that by the time he was exiting?
In philosophy we say, the only thing that does not change in a change is change. The only thing that does not change in a change is change. And so many people, even today here in KBC channel, if we decide to do things otherwise, you will find people fighting you. Yes, but there is this picture of people trying to hold their tradition, trying to hold their habit. And remember, the Englishman said a habit is a disease. Sometimes let the change come so that at least we can transform and also get renewed again. Like now in the Catholic Church, we are celebrating Easter. A change. In Good Friday, we were all mourning. Now, though our Roman Pontiff has died, and in fact, I was telling somebody today, he has died the best day.
When Christ is risen.
Exactly. When the Christ is risen, they are now together in heaven. And it is God's doing. It's God's will. So sometimes people resist change, but it's very important, very, very important to know that change is important.
And of course, one of the most tempestuous times in the Catholic faith was his stance on LGBTQ. Not really entrenching it in the Catholic doctrine, but asking the world to be careful in terms of how they treat the LGBTQ society.
Yes.
And do you think the Pope was misunderstood?
Very much misunderstood. Even me, myself, so many people asking me, Father Peter Ken, how do you tell us to bless people of the same sex? But that is not the point for him. He was saying, because you may be not be the one, but you are affected maybe by your brother, by your cousin, by your relative. You are not supposed to say, now this man who is a homosexual, this man who is this woman who is a lesbian, these two gentlemen who love each other, that you try now to behave as if they're outcast. Love them, show them love. In the process of showing them love and praying for them and blessing them, they can change. And that's why we have even prisons, And most of those people in prison like Kamiti, they come out. Me, I have a relative who was in Kamiti. Now he's the best man ever. Whether he was guilty or not guilty, he was helped, he was loved. We went there, encouraged him. He came out changed. That was the message of Pope Francis, not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Yes, and we can never, in fact, the Roman Catholic Church, we can never bless the marriage of the same sex. Yeah.
Being an Anglican, one of the things that tantalized me a lot is when I saw him conduct a joint mass with the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yes.
Where they were blessing Catholic bishops and Anglican bishops.
Yeah.
And he didn't just do it with the Anglican Church. He went as far as the Church of Scotland. He went as far as the Orthodox Church, even reaching out to non-Christian groups.
Yes.
Did this offend the Catholic doctrine, for example?
No. You have said well that you are an Anglican.
Yeah.
In your creed, you mention the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So it's like, nyinyi in Kiswahili we say, nyinyi ni watoto wetu. Because you mention in the creed, you say, I believe in one holy. Exactly. Yeah. So we are still, you are still part of us. And remember what Jesus said. If they are with us. Even if they pretend they're against us, we are still with them. Now, he did very well because in the Catholic Church, there's something that we call ecumenism.
Yes.
Integration, and reaching out even to other people. And that's why in the Catholic Church, we'll never hear a priest say, if you want to become a Catholic, stand up. No. Whoever came to church is part and parcel of the Catholic Church. So he did very well, though people asked why, but to him, it is the spirit of ecumenism coming together.
Tell us the significance of Pope Francis being the first Jesuit Pope.
Yes.
Of course, there's the history of being South American or non-European Pope. But what is the significance of being a Jesuit Pope?
Yeah, of course, he's a Jesuit because in the Catholic Church we have the diocesan. For me, I'm a diocesan priest of the Archdiocese of Nairobi, Kenya. We have missionaries, like my brother is a priest also, but a missionary priest of Apostles of Jesus. But Pope Francis is a missionary of Jesuits. Jesuits are known because of studying. Yes. For them, the minimum you can be ordained with is masters. Yes. The minimum. And remember, in the Catholic Church, before you are ordained a priest, you have to give the certificate of the bachelor's in philosophy and bachelor's in theology.
But for a Jesuit, they will require...
Yes, I think the minimum is masters. And for many, doctorate. So they can take even 15, 20 years before, because to them ordination is not the goal as such. Yes, they are in different fields, doctors, teachers, nurses, mention them, pilots, engineers. Yes, you see. But now that brought so many things, and even when you look at his legacy also, he never chose so many even bishops, even from Jesuits. He chose all over, even Franciscans. Some of them have become, cardinals. Yes, so for him, even if he's a Jesuit, he never discriminated anybody. Yes, just like you were saying, he was accommodating everybody.
Was there a stance in Rome?
Yes, love which now, it's like here in Kenya. Somebody can stand and say, I have a PhD, I have a master's. What are you telling me? But to him, he could have said, I'm a doctor. What are you trying to tell me? You mere diocesan who just have philosophy and theology. But for him, he integrated everybody, whether a diocesan or whether a missionary. For him, he was led by humility and not pride. Yeah.
And by the way, the Pope was well read, by the way. Having studied in Argentina, went even to Chile.
Yes, and he's the first Pope again, like you have said, out of Italy or Rome.
Yeah.
Yes, he was from Argentina.
From Argentina.
Yeah.
A quite interesting one. But before we finish up on his legacy with the burial rites, tell us, in terms of when a Pope is consecrated to lead the Catholic Church.
Yes, installed.
Yes. There is how he dresses, how he walks, how he conducts his business. How different was this Pope from the other popes that have been installed before?
Yes, first of all, from his name, from his name, Francis, he wanted to show humility. St. Francis was humble. Then again, remember the cardinals and the popes, they have the red, socks. For him, he chose otherwise.
Why do they wear red socks?
Yes, because you are ready. You are the prince of the church, and you are ready to die for the church any time. And what takes you there is your leg.
That's why they must wear red socks.
Yes, but for him, he was a little bit different. And because he's the Roman pontiff, is the vicar of Christ, when you started the news, you said the head. It's not the head as such, but the best word to say is the vicar of Christ. The vicar of Christ, or the Holy Father, or the Roman pontiff. All those are his names, And of course, his name is Pope Francis.
Yes.
And so he did things differently.
Including his vehicle?
Yes. Oh, everything. You even remember when he came to Kenya?
Yeah.
He said, no, I don't want a luxurious vehicle, a simple car, because of his character. You know, he was trying everywhere to show, you know, Franciscans, they have the vow of poverty. So he couldn't go, you know, against that always.
Yeah.
So to so many popes, you know, that could not happen. But to him, it was possible. Yes. Even when he was given a vehicle, he said, no, if it is a luxurious one, sell it, give it to the poor. Buy for me a simple car. Yes.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the burial rituals.
Yes.
But I'm more interested in one person before we even talk about the burial rituals.
Yeah.
Cardinal Kevin Farrell.
Yes.
The Camerlengo of the Holy Roman
He's called Cardinal Camerlengo. But his name is Kevin. Like
Cardinal Camerlengo.
Yes.
But his name is Kevin.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So what does he do?
His work, in fact, today, he's the one who said these words. Vere Franciscus mortus est.
Okay, that's Latin.
Yes, he said those words today. Vere Franciscus mortus est. Or truly, Francis is dead. So his first work today was first to call him with his baptismal name. When he noticed he is not active.
He's the one who went to his room to confirm that he was
exactly. That is his work.
Okay.
Cardinal Camerlengo.
Okay.
And his name is Kevin, like you have said. So he called him today Joe Mario Bergoglio. It is his name.
Yeah.
Remember the church name is Pope Francis. 3 times.
And he didn't respond.
Yes, if he doesn't respond, then of course the process has already started to announce that he's already dead.
Okay.
So he calls him, he waits to see whether he responds. The second time, the third time. If he doesn't, then a doctor can be involved now, to confirm if it is true. Because of course, he may be in a coma, or maybe he overslept. You will not say that he was drunk, that he couldn't hear or something. But remember, he was sick all the way from Valentine, But that is the work of Cardinal Camerlengo. Yes, that is the first step.
That is the first step.
Yes.
We'll talk about the other steps because I know at some point down the line, there's another point where he's involved.
Yeah.
But the body has been put in the coffin. So far, at least that process was supposed to happen at around 8 p.m.
Yes.
So where is the body taken?
Yeah, it is supposed to be taken to the St. Peter's Basilica.
Okay.
But for viewing and all that, and in preparation for, there is 9 days period of mourning, whereby all the priests, all the bishops, we are invited to celebrate Mass for him. But of course, now that for him, he said, I don't want show off. I don't want so many things, just simple things. He said, treat me just like a normal Christian. Yes, that's what he said. So just like the way we say, the way from even luxurious cars and all that, he does not want. Of course, he said, because I was your Roman pontiff, there is that respect, but treat me just like a normal baptized Christian.
We used probably would say was lucky to see the rites accorded to the late Pope John Paul, and the late
of good memories.
Yes, the late
don't
Pope
forget
Benedict.
that.
How and that raised platform in which they lay as members of a public thronged the St. Peter's Basilica to come and see the remains of a pope. Is this something we expect this time round?
Not really, because he had his own reservations. But of course, very soon from tomorrow, the cardinals, because now the church, the church now is in the hearts of the College of Cardinals. Yes, and now they will give the guidelines of what he said. Remember, in the Catholic Church, before you are ordained, there is the will that you write. So first of all, it will be, they'll go through the will, to see what he wanted before anything else happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's take a small commercial breather. When you come back, because we've dealt with the issue of public viewing, where his body is.
Yeah.
And still gives me reminders of the red tunic addressed by the Pope Benedict as well as Pope John Paul. And he'll tell us whether this is also a likely thing that we'll see during this public viewing. But of course, we'll take a breather. When we come back, we pick up the conversation from there.